Hey, what's going on, everybody? BDF44 here with another video. All right, I just got through watching the Los Angeles Lakers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Very, very pleased with what I saw as a Laker fan. Um, this is what it is. For all the great things that we saw tonight from all of our stars, Carmelo Anthony had a fantastic night shooting the ball. LeBron James shined, even though he had 7 turnovers. Russell Westbrook had a very good game. We saw a lot of fantastic things. Austin Reeves shined out there tonight, very much so. Bazemore was very much involved, playing fantastic. Um, we just got a good game out of a lot of people, but honestly, it came down to really one thing for me: Avery Bradley. Avery Bradley. That's what it came down to. He gave us the perimeter defense that we need. It's really as simple as this: when you put him on the floor, suddenly certain things just start to become easier to handle. Uh, Dealing with bigs and their length and all of that, you don't have to worry too much because now Avery Bradley's creating so much pressure out there for their guards to where he's making it more difficult for even the bigs to be able to adjust to what it is he's doing out there. He's making it so that they're not catching the ball is easy. He's making it so that guards out there scrambling. It's harder to just set a pick and not get called for a foul and things of that nature. He just affects so much when he's out there scrambling around and using his defensive IQ um, to just really, and his great hands to just get involved and just basically make things very difficult on everyone. Fighting around screens and things of that nature. And what ends up happening is it's infectious. Now you get other guys giving you more and more effort on the defensive end. Now other guys are putting more intensity into and more intent into making plays on the defensive end because they have a guy down there that's basically an anchor on the perimeter, kind of guiding things and making it so that guys kind of fall into place. It's it's like having a defensive coach on the floor. That's how I liken it. To where now your defense is literally in place as opposed to when he's off the floor where you have none at all. So at this point, I'm telling coach, yo, keep him on the floor. Do not even take him off the floor until THT gets back, until Monk is healthy. Don't do anything at all in regards to taking him out off the floor. But honestly, it was fantastic seeing him as well as Austin Reeves doing a fantastic job of just, again, complimenting the stars, doing the things that he needs to do and hitting his shot, making plays for others, playing defense as best he can. The only thing that I'd say about him is the same thing I've been saying. He must get stronger because that's really the only thing in his way right now, getting bumped around, not being able to finish through contact, stuff like that. Things that will just automatically come as he does get stronger and continue to work in the NBA weight room. So, I mean, if he's already this good as a rookie, man, look out. That's going to be a real playmaker in this league. That's what I wanted to say. Again, Kent Bazemore, his defense and his ability to just be long and helpful out there on the defensive end, particularly, is helpful. His shot, that corner shot, didn't quite have it tonight. He shot some shots that weren't really hitting anything, but ultimately, the threat of that shot is still very, very, very serious, and it creates other things for him as well. So I don't want him to stop taking it. I think Russell Westbrook was a little timid tonight. A little timid. His numbers won't say that, but I think the turnovers and the playing poorly, I think it's starting to really make him look at himself and kind of try to tone it down a bit, calm it down. You could tell he's been very frustrated with his own play. So I think he made a more conservative, is that the right word? Forgive me. He made a more focused effort to kind of just pay more attention to what he's doing out there. I felt he was a little timid though in regards to maybe taking certain shots and things of that nature. However, I'm telling you, and I've been saying this since he played for the OKC Thunder, that bank shot that he likes to take, that mid-range shot where he likes to bank it off the glass, that thing falls, man. He needs to try to find himself in position to take those shots. I think the coaching staff needs to find ways of creating opportunities for him to get that shot consistently, because I think that's going to be key for him, particularly playing off the ball. We're trying to figure out where his spots are to where we can find ways of putting him in a position to be comfortable out there. That's what I've been doing. I'm saying we, but that's really my head. I'm like, how can we get him opportunities to score without the basketball? And the answer is running him off of picks and things of that nature to put him in those particular shots to shoot those bank shots off the glass from mid-range. Those shots he can get consistently, and those are shots that he hits in rhythm that will open up other things for him. And usually when he starts seeing that shot fall, he hits it a couple times coming down. His 3-point shot usually seems to open up. He hits it a little better. It's per my eyesight, so I don't know. That may not necessarily reflect in the numbers, but just in watching him over the years, he gets that shot going, then suddenly other things open up for him. So yeah, I just want to find out where his sweet spots are, and then hopefully our coach kind of put him in a position to get those shots. But it's going to be rough because at the end of the day, Russell Westbrook doesn't really shine off ball. So even though he can cut here and there and do things like that, until his 3-point shot is really something that he can catch and shoot and hit consistently, playing off ball is just going to be something that he's going to have to struggle and try to find his way. But there are other players in this league who I'm sure he can kind of look at and kind of do a little homework on and film on to try to see how best to operate in his position. Of course, he's never going to be Rip Hamilton or nothing like that running off of screens, but I think there are other players with similar body type who have had to play off the ball and have made themselves efficient. So if anything, I'm sure that's something that you can kind of study and figure out who those players are. If you're wondering if I have any of those players in mind, not by name, but I can think of certain prototypes of players that I'm sure have done it, And at the end of the day, it just comes down to being able to catch and shoot, and ultimately being able to run off screens and set picks and things of that nature, and be intent on getting offensive rebounds and pulling boards off the glass in general. And I think Russell Westbrook, that's where he can really shine on this team, honestly. His assist numbers may not be where they need to be because he won't have the ball in his hands as much. His scoring numbers may not be where they need to be because that may vary from night to night depending on the type of shooting other players are doing. But his rebounding numbers, they can always be in the teens. They can always be 10 or above because he's going to have those opportunities to get those boards, especially in small ball lineups, which what seems to be something we're intent on using him in. So I'm going to be looking at him to crash that glass. In the meantime, Anthony Davis was phenomenal. That was a fantastic block shot that he had there on Markkanen. We'll wait for that to go by. Yeah, blocked a fantastic shot on Markkanen. Markkanen had done a pump fake and thought he had eluded all the Lakers. He had not, and it was a clutch shot, I'd say within like 2 minutes and 30-something seconds of the fourth quarter ended. So needless to say, it was one of the key moments in the game for us, and he shined, man. Clutch defensively as always. So you got to give AD credit. Going up against that kid Mobley, who was absolutely phenomenal. He really shined and allowed himself to be, the guy that ultimately won that matchup. Mobley's numbers were fantastic. He scored, I think, his career high on us tonight coming home. Of course, he played his college ball. Hope everything's all right over there. He played his college ball at USC, so this was a homecoming for him. And, at the end of the day, just completely shined, man, and showed what it is that he's about, why he was the third pick in the draft. I've been telling people on this channel since he was drafted, even beforehand, that this was going to be somebody that's going to be a star in this league. And he's gotten out to a fantastic start. I think the Rookie of the Year race is going to be tight, but I ultimately have him winning it, ultimately, if he stays healthy. And, the Cleveland Cavaliers are simply a winning team with him on the floor. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You put him and Allen together, and then you got that kid Darius Garland, who was also phenomenal tonight, and Colin Sexton, who's coming back from injury, who's trying to get himself worked back into it. And, of course, you got to give Ricky Rubio some credit off the bench, who was also phenomenal, starting off the season really hot. So, this is a hot Cleveland Cavaliers team. They came in 4-1, and we were able to knock them off. I think there's a nice theme starting to come together that young teams come into the Staples Center thinking they're going to get a victory, end up playing well, but we still ended up beating these teams, and I'm very encouraged by that because I think at the end of the day, that's going to be the real test for us from night to night as we run into these young teams. Are we going to be able to outlast them and ultimately big bro them? And so far so good, with the exception of the OKC choke job, which I just think was us, taking our foot off the gas in terms of our strategy more than anything else. We would ultimately have a fantastic record on these young teams. So that's what we want. That's what we want. We know when we go up against good teams, what that's going to be about. But can we stay healthy, and can we ease these young teams into submission and ultimately getting our chance to rest in the fourth quarters? Now, that I have not seen yet, but I don't think we're playing well enough to think we're going to be blowing people out just yet. But when we get to that point, closing those games out early and making sure we have time to rest, because it's all about health, and being patient, being very patient, because some of the players that are shooting very well right now may not be shooting very well all the time, but what we can see is the makings of an identity here, and that identity to me seems like something that's going to be interesting in regards to how we're going to sustain it. We're not in love with the half court, but we do respect size. I think it's one of those situations where we can play both small and big, but our coach tends to want to go small. Now, it worked for us tonight. We had AD and Bron out there against those Twin Towers and had success, so I was very happy about that. Those guys look real small against our guys out there, but that's not always going to be the case every night. So I think keeping AD and DJ healthy is so very important as well. So that's what I wanted to say, man. Darius Garland, I mean, that kid, you got to understand, they got another Kyrie Irving, man. That's what I'm here to tell you guys. This dude is another Kyrie. He can pass, he can shoot, and he can dribble. And he is very, very, very comfortable doing all three. In fact, I would go as far as to say he passes more naturally than Kyrie did at that age. In fact, period, really, because Kyrie's not that kind of a playmaker. He makes plays, but it's not something that, Kyrie's, I would say, is score first. Pass first is not really his thing. I would say Garland is like literally both equally. I don't see him leaning toward either side. I think he's very comfortable scoring the ball, and I think he's extremely comfortable passing. It's almost like Chris Paul, really. So I'm going to be paying very close attention to Darius Garland. As far as the defensive end, I'm clueless. Just don't know. I know I told you guys a million times the Darius Garland story about my 2K player being having him as one of the best defensive players in the league, if not the best defensive player in the league. But ultimately, if he can be as good as he seemed to be tonight, I think he'll help their team a lot. So, yeah, man. The Cleveland Cavaliers are only getting better. Lauri Markkanen looks great out there as well, shooting the ball, playing the three spot well. I think he was listed at the 4 today, and I think they had Mobley at the 3, but it's positionless. Either way, he fits out there fantastically, and it's mimicking sort of like the Lakers had with Powell, Bynum, and Odom. That trio of very, very long 7-foot players that we were able to keep on the floor the majority of the time. They have something similar out there. And then the dynamic guard, we had Kobe. They have 3 dynamic guards, kind of give them a dynamic similar to that. So I think that's kind of what they're building in some ways. The vision is to just keep 3 7-footers on the floor at all times who can have length, stretch the floor, and then keep those dynamic guards with the ball in their hands, playmaking and things of that nature. And for a guy like Sexton, he fits because even though he scored first, everybody around him can pass to him. They can get him involved. It's sort of like LeBron's Cleveland days where Kyrie would get the ball from him and still play the point guard position. Mobley can get him the ball. The other guys can as well because they have a passing team, and that's what we were able to see tonight as well. Lots of good ball movement from the Cleveland Cavaliers. They were very impressive, man. They're going to have a very good season. I think in the Eastern Conference, going to be tough, but they're going to be very much in the mix. I think for the 8th spot and in the play-in tournament. So yeah, man, loved what I saw there from both teams overall. Carmelo Anthony just overpowered them. at the end there with just a trio of 3-point shots that just kept on just really being timely for us and giving us momentum, I think, to close them out. LeBron James was excellent. Got to give the King credit. His ability to be what we need him to be is just so crucial. It's almost like I have to say this, and I say this in a way that really speaks to the specifics of the type of player he is, but he's literally like the perfect superstar in a sense that you almost can fade him away in a way in the offense, like, and this is an underrated thing about LeBron James. I totally think that he can play off the ball 80% of the time if he needed to and still shine just the same, because he's so brilliant and he's such a fantastic off-ball playmaker, meaning like a hockey assist playmaker. He never has to bring the ball up. Now we can, of course, see the fruit in having him to bring the ball up because he's the best at it, basically. But he's not one of those guys where you have to try to figure out where he's going to fit in if you have him off the ball, which is why, in theory, whatever Russell Westbrook's issues are in terms of being a playmaker, a guy like LeBron James fading him on the sides is really the key to him being able to do what it is that he does and still come out of these games with victorious. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's almost like if you allow LeBron to complement Russell Westbrook, you're probably going to get the most out of your team overall, because it still allows Russell to be himself, and it allows LeBron James to display what it is that I'm saying that he can do, which is anything, basically, literally anything. And Russell, of course, as we've discussed many times, cannot. So in trying to brainstorm what'll work for this team, I still believe ultimately that we live and die with Russell Westbrook's playmaking. Because if we can't get the most out of him in that way, we don't get the most out of him at all. And then we find ourselves with less value on the floor. And see, that's what I always talk about, is value and things of that nature. But in this context, I mean it by saying you're going to turn him into a 10-point per game shooter, making $100 and something million. So in other words, you don't have the most of him on the floor for you. But if you give him the ball, you get $100 million worth of Russell. That's what I'm saying to you. So you don't want to diminish who he is because the fit is funny. LeBron James helps the fit not be funny. That's essentially what I'm saying to you. So yeah, man, that's in other words, this thing doesn't fit naturally. Cut and dry. They're gonna have to do some maneuvering and try to make it work. Things that may not conventionally be the best thing for the team will be things they'll have to try to ultimately get the most out of the roster. That is the gist of the thought. So yeah, that's what I got, man. My name is BDF44. I thank y'all for hanging out with me today. It's been an interesting day, very interesting, but ultimately very fruitful. I was able to watch the Lakers after all. Yeah, my name is BDF44 once again. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.